They probably aren't going to run any DVDs of it. If they do put it on a streaming service, it will probably be paid because, they need support. They don't have the luxury of just putting it up for free. So it's like, how are we able to find these films?
It's frightening to me now when people want to behave as though certain images don't mean anything. I thought of this when I saw Larry Clark's Kids. And I went back like in circles of progressive white friends and I said, oh God, the racial politics in terms of representation in this film really sucked. And they really wanted to say it didn't matter. It didn't mean anything. And I was like, give me a fucking break. I mean, we know why the person who's brutally bashed to death is a dark-skinned black man. It's crucial that he's a dark-skinned black man. Because in fact, people's antipathy to dark-skinned black men is actually much greater than their antipathy to black men in some kind of general way. I feel...
Tell me about a time when a film made you feel seen and how it achieved that. Tell me about a time when a film made you feel seen. It was such a deep realization that all of the films that I did feel so drawn to and seen by were archival films. Just things that were so hard to access that if I'm just the average young black person going to the movies every week, that I'm not going to see that unless I actually do such deep diving.
Not often. And I feel like whenever watching anything, when you're consuming anything, it's going through your brain, your neurological pathways, your emotions. And so you can sometimes attach meaning to something that isn't there. And I feel like I end up doing that a lot with Western films where I'm attaching meaning to the storyline of this white man in this film. And I relate because then in my life, and I'm doing twists and turns and contortions to make it relate to me, And I guess you can say that's just having analytical skills. That's just you being good at evaluating and bringing things around. But inherently, they're not having to do those twists and turns. You know what I mean? They see it and it's that's me. That's my friend.
I feel like finding films on Twitter because you're just so interested in seeking that kind of experience out of a film is really so indicative of how much that representation is lacking in mainstream cinema. And to take it a step further, even in independent films, this podcast is a conversation.
This is going to have deep ramifications for the future of representing blackness in Hollywood, because it really is almost a public announcement of the white takeover of that particular territory, the issue of representing blackness. The plot of Brooklyn was very obvious and very simple. It was about a family where the mother is dying in the family. But I can't tell you how many white reviewers wrote that it didn't have a plot. When what they should have said is that it didn't have a plot that interested us. That white America is not interested in black mothers that are dying.
Tell me about a time when a film made you feel seen and how it achieved that.
This is going to have deep ramifications.
Because if we leave it to the West, you're going to have 5 different depictions of black people, and you're going to be well, that should cover it and call it a day,
It was such a deep realization that all of the films that I did feel so drawn to and seen by were archival films. Just things that were so hard to access that if I'm just the average young black person going to the movies every week, that I'm not going to see that unless I actually do such deep diving.
I highly doubt that these, white heads of these streaming mega corporations are going to look at a Zambian film with a black woman protagonist and be the people need to see this,
I feel like
Think about all the Americans who've never, ever in their lives for one, second thought about Scotland and Ireland, who went to see Braveheart, who suddenly put notions of British imperialism and the freedom of Ireland on their little social maps because of a Hollywood movie. I was truly awed by how much a Hollywood film could totally alter people's perceptions of national liberation struggles globally in a way that would call attention to those who are in a sense the underclass in those struggles. And that is also the power of white male privilege. White male stardom. I mean, it's important for people to look at who produced and directed that film. Because it's not just that Hollywood can do that, it's that specific liberal white men who are moneyed within the context of Hollywood can produce whatever images that they want to produce.
I feel like
the plot of Brooklyn was very obvious and very simple. It was about a family where the mother is dying.
Not often, and